So I started reading the essay, and very early on, it was clear that she was not backing down, that she was digging her heels in, and I was just instantly disheartened, and I wanted to stop reading. I wanted to stop reading. I wanted to unknow this fact about Jo Rowling. I wanted to go back to a year ago, to a month ago, to a week ago, to the time before my eyes had been opened. I wanted to stop reading, and I wanted to just live in the ignorance is bliss of it all and not engage. But, as I said before, I am sort of the resident Harry Potter fan in most of my circles. Even circles that have other Harry Potter fans, there's another level to my passion for it. And in addition to that, this was 2020. So I hadn't publicly come out yet, but I had attended pride parades and posted things that were very, pro LGBTQIA plus community rights and advocacy. So people knew that I cared about the queer community and was at the time a very ardent ally. And so it felt like two things that I was really passionate about were sort of converging, and it was almost like I was going to have to pick a side. And I instantly resented Jo Rowling for making me do that. I was like, really? We're already in a pandemic. I'm grappling with how to better educate myself on racial justice and be a better ally there. And in the midst of all of this that's going on, I now have to compartmentalize my love for Harry Potter, or just give up something that has made me into the person who I am. So I was just really mad. I was mad, and I was sad, and it was a lot of emotions going on. And I realized that the only thing that I could do was read the essay. Because I knew that people were going to ask me what I thought. That people were going to want to know my take on all of this. And I wanted to be as educated as possible on all sides of it, so that I could give a researched and thought through response to the whole thing. So I read the essay, and she made some points about people who had detransitioned. And even though that is true and completely valid, that there are people out there that start to feel gender dysphoria after transitioning and choose to detransition. But she was using that as a reason for, trans identities to not be valid at all. She was using a lot of these, case-by-case basis things of things that I fully believe happened. I don't think that she was making things up, but I think that she was taking these few experiences and making them seem like they were a reason to just completely negate the whole thing. And in particular, the one point that she made that I feel like is the most toxic way of trying to promote an anti-trans agenda, which is the whole violence against women reason. There seems to be a really widely held belief that trans men and trans women, or largely trans women, are only taking on an identity, or only, dressing up as women so that they can attack women. There is so much fear that fuels that belief, and it's very hard to reason with fear. So, by perpetuating this narrative, it makes people who are just trying to live their lives seem like monsters. And it's so upsetting to me that Jo Rowling is using her platform to continue to spread this fear and to make the world a less safe place for the trans community, for the non-binary community, who are just trying to be their most authentic selves. And I know that she dealt with abuse in her life, and so it's a very real thing to be worried about violence against women for her, because she's experienced it herself. It's just, it's hard, because this is the same thing that I grappled with in my first video, when I was talking about how upset the trans non-binary communities were about Jo not being exclusively trans non-binary, because I get it. I get that there's an issue, that there's a problem, and that there is something to be upset about. But in both cases, the party that is taking the brunt of the attack, let's say, in this case, trans people are not to blame for violence against women. Let me say that again. Trans people who are just trying to live their lives, be seen for who they are, and claim their authentic self and their identity, are not to blame for violence against women, particularly trans women. If you let yourself get so set into that narrow way of viewing the world, it may feel safe. It may feel like a needed protection in order for you to feel like you don't have to be worried about abuse, especially if you're coming from a place of trauma. But you need to be really careful about inflicting trauma on other people, because when you have a platform as big as Jo Rowling's and keep digging your heels in on this narrative, it just makes the world a more dangerous place for people who are already struggling to survive. And I don't know what else to say about that, because I don't have a solution. But it was a hard read because it was well written, which means that Jo Rowling took the time to write it and really thought through how she felt about everything, and these are the conclusions that she came to. And they're conclusions that are, like I said, fueled by fear and largely not based in fact. And I know that there are organizations that have reached out to Jo Rowling trying to have a dialogue with her and educate her a little bit, and she has refused to meet with anybody